Hello and welcome back to All My Art and Soul. This week is black and white with the hero color number 20. And I love working just with black and white. Actually, lately, the simpler palette, the better. I'm showing you some of the colors that I thought I was going to use. I never did end up using the teal or the turquoise or the manganese blue, and I'm glad. Just because it seems to be my default with blue and orange, and it was nice to try to push myself to do something different, as we should all be trying if we want to evolve as artists. Anyway, that's my belief. Let me know in the comments what you think. So I've gathered my deli wrap jelly printed collage pieces, and I finally will have time to make a pile more, and I will be videoing that and showing and demonstrating some of that stuff in my Facebook group. So don't forget to find the link below in this video in the comments and join the journey. So on with the video. So as you can see, it is a 9 by 12. I've lined that out, and the book itself is Canon Mixed Media 11 by 14. Just because I'm trying to be more aware of possibly framing, using standard mats, etc. If I were to sell any of these, I definitely it's a possibility, but my main purpose is to use these just as learning and exploring. And also, if any of the abstracts turn out really well, you've seen in my shop what I've done with them with the all over print art products that I'm just starting to get better at and making. There's a blue one, I think it was number 18, 2 videos back, and it was a very simple abstract, and I think that design really lends itself to all over print products like totes and pouches and anything. But if you want to take a peek at my shop, the links are also below in the comments. So I just wanted to go back. I was remembering my positive affirmations and all of those wonderful things, which I will be starting a challenge starting January. So I will finally get some holidays and be able to plan the new year. What's in store for the new year when we think of this in our creative paths forward? Lots of things to think about. I can't wait to have the time. I have so many ideas. It's just a matter of picking which ones I want to begin 2022 with. So as you scan Instagram and different things, I'm always looking for different techniques, and especially with tools that we already have. So this catalyst wedge, I'm starting to use it in a way that I like, and it's just putting a real thin glaze of whatever it is, this happens to be white this time, over some marks. And I don't know if any of you follow Jane Davies. Oh, so fabulous. I followed her back in the day. Her colors are so bright and vibrant, and her tutorials, the way she taught, it's amazing. Anyway, one of the things that she had, mostly a lot of the times in her backgrounds, is you could see the layers of the veiling over top previous layers way back, and still peeking through the piece. So I'm still playing with that, still learning. So as you can see, there's marks that are being shadowed out. That could look good with a gray. Really neat to keep this technique going until you can discover different ways to play with it. And then the high contrast marks lying over top. So then I decided, okay, let's use the Posca markers, and then the gray one, which isn't as high contrast. And then I went with a just a lower grade white, but it was thicker. Excuse me. And more opaque is what I meant to say. So just drying up those. I don't mind my dog. He's in a bit of a mood today, so he's been very whiny. Who knows? His name's Dexter. So sometimes you hear his nails, him clicking in the background in my studio, but he's a great little studio dog. So now that I have enough marks, you can see that acrylic Posco marker does smudge. So as I discovered, so I might let that dry a little bit more the next time, but you know what? Who cares? It's great. It's another mark. It's unexpected. Love it. And I'm loving the size of this, the scale of these marks, which I just made with a black paintbrush, dabbed it across, put it to the side, and there's just really no thinking with these deli paper collages that you're making, depending on your intention. I just want black and white. Let's make as many different shapes as I can. And I know I want to make more marks, more collage papers with the deli paper with the fan brush, because it makes, and ink. But it's a permanent ink. It's a waterproof ink, so it won't smudge. Have to be careful. I learned that the hard way, but like we all do. So again, this one is just rolled on with the brayer, let it dry, and I love the natural mark it makes. I find when you, if there's too much intention, it's too perfect or whatever, it just, to me, for my artwork, it just doesn't go. So making sure all the bubbles are out, smoothing it with the high gloss medium, which is very thick. And planning the next move, grabbing the next piece of collage, trying not to overthink, just react. So my intention with this page was to keep it as simple as possible. So it ended up, even though I had all those other colors and everything around me, it just didn't work. So I just kept focused on that little bit of, it's either nickel azo gold or the yellow oxide. And as you can see, that smudges in, but I end up covering that with a very opaque, that really light gray that you've seen me use. And so it's drying. And I love these. Now, I don't always like this particular texture or mark, but it contrasted so nicely with everything else and emits such a really cool energy. That position that you just saw probably would have been better because of the angle on the right and it dipping in. But in my mind, I was just trying to think other than horizontal. But in hindsight, as you know, I will try to remember that for the next time. It's sort of interesting. It definitely follows that line that swirls up and makes the eye go up. And as long as we can come back around, which we end up doing. So please watch this video to the end just to see how it turns out. And don't forget to like and share. And if you have not already subscribed, please do, because it's, and maybe create along with me or us with this group. And it's, I know it's a busy time around the holidays, but it's always nice to take a break. Now, I've had these stripes, wanted to use them in other pages. So notice the scale of the 4 stripes was just too much. So I just tore one off, and then finding my odd number of 3 that I'm more comfortable with and like. And then I move it down a little bit more on top, so it's overlapping the other the other darker area, which really is much better. So I'm finding the energy of this page is pretty cool. Looking at it now, I may even have wanted to veil out some of those lines on the right in behind that triangular piece with the yellow oxide on it. And this worked because the other stripes are horizontal and now this is vertical, so there's a difference and more open and bringing that eye down. So that's it just naturally fit there, which I love. And that little piece of black's been floating around a bit, but I don't know. It just wants to find a home, but nobody wants him. So moving that blue out of the way, because I know I don't want it now, and making some room. There, just going directly with this gray. As I've said earlier, I do plan, when I have more time, hooray, to start exploring now with color, different color palettes. Now notice how that improved because it was way too opaque, thick. It was just too heavy. And I think what I could have done here is spritzed it with just a touch of water and a little bit more. It would have turned down a little thinner, and I think I would have liked it better, but this is okay. There's that neutral Titan buff, which I end up putting with the Catalyst wedge, nice and thin in the upper area. So I'm looking for subtlety here, and I really like how it covered the stripes, but not the entire section. It gets a little messy, but then I decide, oh yeah, wait, I'll use my brayer. And some excess paint, that lightened that up. I like that. It just took away too much of that gray. And coming in and just evening out that layer a bit more. So calming it down and then lifting a little bit more, going down a bit. I may have overdone it with that, but that's okay. I bring in another piece of collage, a big, thick, horizontal collage. Oh, that's sort of cool. Maybe white would have worked better, but that's okay too, because you never know when that's going to be covered up. So I'm thinking teal, and I realize, no, I don't want teal. Why do I want teal? Not on this particular page. So then I realize across the center, the middle center needs some attention. Even though I really like those marks, they don't all need to be there. A piece of opaque, that's newsprint, just a little piece, saving your bin of all of your little pieces. And then here's another section of that same paper that's from below. And of course it's singular, trying to think of a different placement, but it just goes there. And I like how it covers those swirls, but you can still see them through that layer, just barely. So the energy is rising up and over. Okay, so then I find this other one, similar but not the same, which is now balancing off the piece. And it's a little smaller. Gives it some weight on the bottom and then moves the eye out of that gray area. Just gives it a little more contrast, moving towards the left. Fooling around with this. This piece is when I was following Jane Davies, and I still am. I really like what Adele Sipenson is doing, Louise Fletcher, Nicholas Wilton. Those are my main three. Who is the other fellow? That's all I can think of right now. But This is just directly from a bottle with a very thin, narrow nib, squirted on in swirls of lines onto plastic. Then you let it dry, and it's like a skin. And you can cut sections from it. It's like a mark, but of course, it's a mark, but it's just a different form. And of course, it ended up looking much better there against the gray. So I decided, yes, my circles, which I love, needed to be white. I finally realized that, which is super. And across that middle section, and I love how this thick white contrasts with all of those very thin layers. And you can see I really apply it thickly. And that texture really stands out. I really love that. And now they're there, but it just needed a horizontal. There's the deli paper, which I created with my fan brush. And I'm thinking, oh, up there. No, I know exactly where it's gonna. And you can see where yes, it has to go there. And then all of a sudden those circles pop out. You notice them more, even though you didn't change those. It's just contrast against something different. And then I trim that edge. Oh, not enough high gloss medium, apparently. And I trim this off. And I'm really liking the yellow tape. It definitely is. It's a frog product, I believe. Some of you asked last week. It gets a little, it's sort of bright when you're staring at it, but that you sort of, that goes away after once you get into your work. Yeah, so that gray's been bugging me, so I covered it with the white. It needed some more breathing space. As you can see, from the past, I'm realizing too, my lines, it gets too complicated, and it needs more breathing space, so I just covered some sections with the white. Could have went a little thinner, but you know what? That's working. So I add just a little bit more, but barely, much more thinly towards that center from the left. And then it takes a little while, of course, for those circles to dry because they're so much thicker. Then that stencil, as you can see, has been sitting on the upper left-hand side for the whole time. And I decided not to put it in. I was going to put it in black. Maybe if I didn't have those horizontal stripes, it would have been okay. But I'm glad I didn't use it in the end. And I used this little piece instead. So, tiny little lines where you can still see the shadows of the black underneath, and you're building up all these layers, building very thin layers so you can see little peaks of previous things underneath, which you could never have planned. You can only maybe say, oh, you can sort of intend an effect through a previous experience, but each one will never turn or never be the same. And that's the fun of this. So bringing the eye a little bit more to those orange, I love orange, with my Posca pens, and then adding those tiny dots. I was really wondering about those, but those really add, because they add the eye going down off of that white skin mark that I pasted down. And why it works, and against the solid line, there's no other rows of dots anywhere. So I'm learning to use those, the thing that I love, or it's a go-to, whatever it is, very minimally. And it seems to be working. Now, for the top, is why I just put my finger. That's sort of the last area that's empty, and that's why I'm thinking about it. So I want something there, but I don't want a high contrast. It would take it away. So then just the finger marks with the white paint and that nice thick feeling against the thin layers, just enough to stop the eye from going off of the page and on down. So, and notice that it's not black that time, it was sepia, which is such a beautiful dark brown. I don't know if the eye, I'm sure we can, maybe by temperature, but it's so much lighter compared to the black marks of that top central square of orange, white, and black. Oh, well, now it's the big reveal time. And you can see the pencil edges of this one because of the light paint, but that's totally fine. And I'm really liking my clean edges. So thank you for that encouragement, subscribers who mentioned that. And I use just using a piece of newsprint to keep the other pages clean. And I'm calling this one Exploring Black and White with the Hero color. And then decide, wait, I need some words. What I do is I find texts that are very meaningful to me, and of course that old typewriter print. That's probably mostly why. And then I just cut out sections of sentences and narrow and come up with an ambiguous, maybe not so ambiguous, but it leaves you thinking, words. And what does it say? These people appeared. I thought, well, that's sort of cool. So I'm going to throw that in there. And I think this is it for this one. Really liking it. Liking how it turned out. I love that it's simple, but it has so much going on, but yet isn't so overly busy. So I hope you enjoyed Black and White with the Hero color, number 20. And be sure to like this video if you're enjoying this content, because it's going to help the channel grow. And I will see you in the next video.